I've covered every monitor audio speaker series except for one. I'm talking everything from their entry-level bronze speakers to their flagship platinum series, which we reviewed in 2023. And before we head into 2025, I'm closing the books with their gold series. Like all monitor audio series, the gold line includes 2 towers, 2 bookshelf speakers, plus an on-wall and a matching center. But on deck today is the Gold 100 6G. This large 3-way bookshelf speaker is available in 3 finishes: satin white, gloss black, and the Macassar wood veneer you're seeing here. Now, we don't see many 3-way bookshelves come to market, so the 100 6G may feel a little bit imposing to some of you. Regardless, I assure you, this is a very well-built speaker with an 8-inch base and 3-inch mid-range driver, both of which are made from a ceramic-coated aluminum and magnesium, and they are mated to a micro-pleated diaphragm transducer, which is very similar to an AMT tweeter. The 100's 3 drivers and rear-facing port combine for a reported in-room frequency response of 32 Hz to 60 kHz. If you're considering the golds, make sure that you have a quality amplifier or home theater receiver to handle this 86.5 dB sensitive speaker. The impedance is pretty stable at 4 ohms, so thankfully you don't have to spend wildly on power. However, I would avoid using, low watt tube amps like our Deckware Zen and any of the TI-based chip amps of the month unless you don't mind being limited to low volume listening or extreme near-field listening. I had a lot of success with the Marantz Model M1, Yamaha's 2000A, Cambridge Audio's EXA100, Emotiva's BassX A2, and believe it or not, the Onkyo RZ30. A quality amplifier capable of, say, 50 to 75 watts of power per channel that also doesn't mind a 4 ohm load should work just fine with the Gold 100s. Now, Monitor Audio recommends placing the speakers 6 to 10 feet apart or whatever is equal to your seating distance. To achieve the widest soundstage with these speakers, try keeping them, about 3 feet or so from your sidewalls, with anywhere from 8 to 14 inches between the rear of the speaker and your front wall. Now, the best placement in our room put the 100s roughly 11 feet apart, 4.5 feet off our sidewalls, and a foot off our front wall. And this resulted in a very, very nice in-room response, one that extended down to just below 30 hertz. You can see a nice predictable rise in bass between 40 and 200 hertz and a very neutral mid-range. The high frequency response gradually rolls off until about 10 kilohertz when a more steep roll-off occurs. If you prefer a neutral or Harman-esque loudspeaker, take note. You may have noticed SVS's behemoth SB17 subwoofer sitting in the background of our videos, and integrating it with the 100 was super easy. The SVS blended pretty seamlessly with the natural rise in the Gold's bass. I crossed the sub over between 50 and 60 hertz and extended the 100's reach below 20 hertz in room and at sustained volumes in excess of 90 decibels. When I used Dirac's new bass control with our RZ30, the handoff between the sub and the speaker was virtually impossible to hear at our listening position. But even without a subwoofer or EQ, the Golds are great speakers on their own. They are very even-keeled through the mids and treble, and in my opinion, have just the right amount of bass extension. If you have a smaller space, or maybe you're like Christy and you aren't a fan of bowel-stirring low frequencies, you just might be able to get by without a sub. No matter what we've been listening to or even watching, the monitors sound right to me, and I never felt the need to tweak them or that I was compromising anything with them in my system. The 100s play low enough on their own, and they have no problems naturally recreating most instruments low end, especially with well-recorded music and acoustic sets. So jazzy soul recordings from Lady Blackbird and Luna's piano music, they sound effortless. Electronic, hard rock, and modern pop, think Enema, Linkin Park, Sabrina Carpenter, or Charlie XCX, they all are going to sound best with a sub. I personally recommend SVS sealed subs, but the KEF KC92 also worked really well. Just make sure that your sub can keep pace with the Gold's dynamic and punchy lower octaves, and you will be, well, golden. When it comes to the mids and the highs, like many monitor audio designs, the 100s have just a hint of character that keeps all important vocals and details well defined without putting them all up in your face in a way that can become fatiguing. Compared to KEF, these are not subdued or warm speakers. They have a splash of liveliness. That said, the Golds are in no way as forward or as contrasty as Bowers and Wilkins. The 100's closest rival is likely one of Sonos favors higher end models because these are far more full range and balanced throughout the mids and highs than our more affordable Lumina 2s. And most of you know that I don't typically gravitate towards AMT style tweeters, especially when listening at super high volumes. I don't know, there's just something about their design that my brain has trouble connecting with. However, Monitor Audio is among the few speaker companies, in my opinion, that manages to implement an AMT tweeter without being aggressive. Very similar to the Platinum series I reviewed last year, the 100 is one of the better AMTs that I've heard. Unlike Emotiva's new Air Motive speakers, the Gold's tweeter remains composed and fatigue-free. Now, I still prefer a dome tweeter like the one in our Titans because it has just that little bit more sparkle or metallic sheen, but I get that that is a personal preference and it is not a knock against the Gold 100. When it comes to SOUNDSTAGE and dynamics, the Gold 100 6G is second only to Monitor Audio's Platinum series. While the 200 is a tower speaker, I still find it a worthy comparison. The Platinum disappears a little easier and has a more open soundstage than the Gold. If I'm rating the two, I'd give the Platinum a perfect 10 and the Gold an 8 or a 9. The differences, they likely come down to cabinet construction, shape, and just overall design. So if you place a premium on absolute transparency, soundstage, and imaging, be prepared to splurge on the Platinum. But I'm not gonna lie, for a fraction of the cost, the 100 6G is solid gold. See what I did there? Now, one area where the Platinum and Gold speakers excel is in their center image and focus. If you're putting together a multi-channel setup or home theater and prefer to rely on a phantom center, you should put the Golds on your must audition list. Dynamically, the 100s are impressive, but when you add a sub and you dial it in, they will astound you. With a sub, dynamics are transformative, equaling and even surpassing what I experienced with the Platinum towers. Head to head and without a sub, the Platinums are more dynamically well satisfying, but for about half the cost, you can best the Platinum's benchmark performance with a pair of Gold 100s and a capable sub. There were even a few moments when watching Paramount Plus's Lioness where the 100s, they really ripped and even surprised Christy and myself. Speaking of, let's take a quick pit stop and discuss the Golds for home theater. As left and right front mains, I love them. The Gold series is where I would start if I were building a higher end home theater or looking for living room friendly home theater speakers, especially if you want a speaker with a wood veneer finish. The Gold's matte finish is far less reflective than the glossier Platinum line, which matters if you have a large screen. The 100s have the chops to deliver the scale and punch a quality home theater needs while balancing the grunt with detail and nuance in a way that never feels forced or worse, etched when you turn things up. I loved watching movies with these speakers. When dialed in using Dirac with bass control, it doesn't get much better. All that said, considering you'll need a quality pair of stands for the 100s, I would probably demo the Gold 300 towers before making any final home theater decisions. But I can't get out of here without making a few speaker comparisons. So I'm going to start with another Monitor Audio speaker making the rounds, the Studio 89. Full disclosure, we had the 89s in for review. They're beautiful, good sounding two-way speakers, but their limitations and higher price point for what they are make this one an easy decision for me. I would grab the Golds. Yes, the 100 6G is more expensive, but I think you get a lot more for your money. A subwoofer is a must for the Studio 89s. Even in a smaller room, think the 89s will need a sub to really convey a proper sense of weight and scale and dynamics. When it comes to power, the Studio is also surprisingly picky and thirsty. The modestly priced 100-watt Marantz M1 was a decent match for the 89, but it wasn't until I stepped way up to the Macintosh MC312 that I feel that I found the right pairing. Ultimately, I found the Golds were the better, just easier speaker to live with. They also paired well with a broader range of source material. If you like the less intrusive size of the Studio 89s, maybe consider the Gold 50 6Gs before making any final buying decisions. They may be a good fit, and if you skipped to this chapter looking for a direct comparison to the Platinum series, I'm afraid you're going to have to go back and watch the video from the beginning. Kef's R3 Meta is another popular three-way bookshelf or stand mount if you're bougie. The R3 is a great speaker and delivers not only on value, but also reference level performance. The Kef costs about half as much as the Golds, and I know this may end up being the deciding factor for some of you. But if we can set aside price, I prefer the sound of the monitor audios. Maybe I'm going through a weird phase, but I'm mildly bored with Kef's sound lately. For me, the Golds have just enough character to keep things interesting. Perhaps you'll feel the same, or maybe you're going to disagree. Who knows? One thing I'm sure of is if you're looking for something in between that doesn't venture into, the acquired taste of a B&W or Focal, the Golds might just be the Goldilocks speaker. And while we're on the topic of B&W, the Gold 100s can even hang with Bowers & Wilkins 805D4s. The B&Ws are special speakers that will immediately sound livelier and more detailed, especially at lower volumes. No matter the volume, the 805D4s image better than the Golds. Their horizontal and vertical scale is more on par with Monitor Audio's Platinum line, but minus that, the Gold 100s are every bit the 805's equal. But at half the price, the Golds offer a far better value that will likely appeal to a broader audience. I love B&W's sound, but the 100s are the more versatile speaker for everyday listening across all genres of music, television, and movies. And the burning question on everyone's mind is, would I get the Monitor Audio Gold 100s over my current reference speaker, the SVS Titan Towers, which we all know costs about the same? I wouldn't, and here's why. I'm lucky enough to have a listening room that can easily accommodate the Titan's larger size, which also means I have the flexibility to get the most out of their impressive bass capabilities. True, the Titans sound a little bit more forward or contrasty compared to the Golds, but dialed in our larger space, I'd have to step up to something like the Platinum 200 to get an outright better experience. Without a doubt, I prefer the Gold's finish, and I have no problem admitting that the speaker's build quality is superior. The Titans really are a finish option away from being welcomed into the closely guarded inner circle of true high-end speakers. Still, as far as high-end bookshelf speakers go, the Gold 100s may be my favorite of the year. So that's it. Easy. It's easy when a speaker like the Gold 100 6G is this good. But yeah, that's my take on Monitor Audio's fantastic Gold 100. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I know they've been lurking in the background for a little bit, so I hope this review was worth the wait. So sound off in the comments below, and if I missed a comparison or you have another question that you want to ask me, go ahead, leave that down below. Never know, could end up in next week's Unplug. Until then, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, you know the works. And if you use any of the links down below, know that that's a great way that you've continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we both do here, and both of us thank you very much. Follow me on Instagram, Recovering Audiophile, and until then, remember, the only person has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video. Bye.